Hey everybody. So I think it might. I think this mask might be too much. Hey everybody. Welcome to the virtual opening for my show, The World as We Know It. I took the name of this show directly from the REM song, but I didn't like the idea of it being the end. So, thanks for coming, sort of. I mean, this is definitely the least effort to come to an art show I think you probably have done. But so I thought what I would do is just kind of take you around, and if you have any questions, feel free to type them in the chat, and I'll try to answer them. And yeah, so I'll just take you through piece by piece and kind of show you the show and talk about each piece a little bit. So first off, this is at the Transmission Gallery in Oakland. When you're coming in, the first piece that you'll see is this Washington, D.C. Ornate teacup and saucer. And inside is 100% genuine bullshit. I call this piece the ruling class. The ruling class. And to make this piece, first I had the cup and saucer and just thought it really sort of represented that ideal of, the American, class and the ruling class, and everyone's so fancy and you can be great here in the streets of gold. And it just really feels like a cup of bullshit. So I found a bull at Wildcat Canyon and watched it shit and scooped up its shit and put it inside. So there's that greets you for the piece, or for the entire show. And then you can come around the corner. I guess you can go either way. This piece is a electrified tea set. It's some silver tea set, a tea set, sugar, creamer, cups, and a silver tray. And underneath, give you a sneak peek. You wouldn't get to do this if you were actually at the show. I've got 12,000 volts going through this from one teapot to the other. I call this one Still Life. It's sort of a couple different things. If you touched it, you would probably get a shock kind of similar to a taser, but it also can make a Jacob's ladder go up the stems. So it's about this sort of power and sort of electricity and strength in these items and sort of our attraction to those things. Another piece about our attraction to things is this piece called Ignite. This piece is sort of an homage to the Industrial Revolution. It's combining the idea of gas and power, and then combining it not just with this electric light that's representing fire, but also kind of the allure, sort of like, old signs that sort of grab your attention and pull you into this idea. But of course, everything is rusty and sort of broken and beaten up, and wires are visible, and sort of the facade and the illusion behind it is also pretty clearly visible. And outside, for the full experience, guy hauling off a dumpster. That's 2020. Next piece I'll show you are these 3 chairs. Each one has a stone inset in the seat part of the chair. This is called a seat at the table. And for this, I really just kind of wanted to break down that barrier between nature and humanity. The original seats were rocks, and then we've kind of come so far that I think we've forgotten about that reality. So I wanted to give people an opportunity to sit on a rock and sort of reconnect, while also sort of showing this whole juxtaposition between man-made things and natural things. So each of these rocks weighs about, I'd say between 50 and 60 pounds. This one's pretty heavy. And they're just resting in the chairs. You can't sit on them. So I think the next piece I'll show you is here. So I call this piece Silver Linings. It's 3 toy plane models, each one outfitted with a set of contrails. And then it hangs in a counterbalance mobile style, where the balance is this ball. So as you're looking out, the light's glinting off of the contrails. For this, I was just trying to kind of capture that feeling of when you look up in the sky and you see a plane flying, and it just feels kind of like impossibly high, and it makes you feel very far away and tiny. And beyond that, I wanted to show that there's a structure behind all that. The planes that fly over my house fly over in the same patterns every single day, every few hours. And I wanted to capture that in mobile form. So there's that piece. Next, I want to show you these pieces. Oh, I forgot to take them out of the boxes. Just kidding. So the boxes are here. Got the classic 4 crossover flat closure. Strike tape on one, packing tape on this one, strike tape on this, makes them stronger. Handles for carrying. And then if you look inside, this might be a limit to, there's a scene of someone having to leave or living away from. So the idea for these is sort of capturing that idea of when people are homeless or lose their home in a disaster or have to travel or leave, and boxing it up the way that we box up things that we take with us when we move. So unassuming on the outside, and then when you look in these, you're sort of taken into this scene and pulled into this moment of these sort of individuals, these little narratives here. This piece is called This Little Light of Mine. This is definitely how I felt a lot this year. But, a lot of the time, a lot of people, I have battles with anxiety and depression, and it's about sort of capturing that feeling of doing your best to shine and light the world, but struggling. So it's taking this thing that is just familiar and plain and falling over and struggling to stand, but still shining. So this is a thrown piece. I threw it, slump it over, and then wire it like a lamp. So this piece is also made out of thrown forms. What I did for this piece is I took one sort of reproduction Ming Dynasty vase, the classic blue and white with a clear glaze, and I smashed it and put a single shard in each jar. And these jars, the shapes are based on many kinds of jars throughout history, but mostly kimchi jars or seed jars. But it's about the pottery of the people. It's about things being made for utilitarian purpose, rough, quick, immediate, but in that is extraordinary usefulness. And each of these pieces has, like I said, a shard from that original, fancy higher class kind of pottery. The way that I throw these with the wider shoulders and narrow neck, I try to make them I think of them kind of like individuals, like people. Each one is sort of representing, a member of like the lower class while containing this piece of the higher class above them. Some of these, when the piece goes in, it actually shatters the jar in the firing process. Some of them start to pull away from the pot. So that's all the pieces of the show. Does anybody have any questions? This is just like teaching. So this show is up through January 30th, and they're available here for appointments. As long as everything doesn't get shut down again, I think that it can still happen. Yeah. Okay, so try to get out to the show. Thanks, Ann Weber. You're brilliant too. Yeah, if you get to come to the show, by all means, about how. Oh, hi, Tabitha. Can you talk a little bit more specifically about how pieces relate to each other? Yeah, so when I was thinking about the world as we know it, I mean, this is kind of like what all of my work is about. It's about taking little pieces of us and sort of breaking it down to show the whole, so that you see like little bits and pieces through the objects that we interact with. And for me, hi, Ruth. For me, like all these pieces sort of add up to a sentence about just the world right now. And I don't know if it was March or April when like it really hit me what was fully happening. Like it felt like the end. And I honestly kept thinking about that REM song just over and over in my head. But then it's like, well, what is the world as we know it? And I think that if anything, this sort of thing is this 2020, like all the things that have happened, is an opportunity to reset, and I think that we can do that if we really understand what it was before that was the problem. So all these are kind of pieces about little bits of that, I mean, I guess honestly, it's the things that irk me, so it's wealth inequality, sort of approach to the environment, approach to industry, approach to sort of mental health issues, like understanding where everyone is and not really caring. I think that these are the areas that really sort of bother me and I think that need addressing. And a lot of these pieces are about sort of pulling that out or calling that out for people. At least that's my goal. Oh, Linda wants to see inside the boxes again. This one is hard to see. This is definitely a limit of, I think the camera here. I can't quite focus on this guy. So this is a woman standing in a broken house with pieces of roofing and lumber and trash. Sort of based this one off of images from people who've lost homes to tornadoes, but also earthquakes and just disasters worldwide. This is a man walking down the road. It's my grapes of wrath. sort of inspired narrative. Just thinking about people who are just forced to leave, forced to go somewhere and lose things. I'm like not far from that. Like we're all going to have to figure out something to do, and that might mean somewhere to go. And a lot of it's sad in a lot of ways, but I think that's a reality. This is I can't really tell if it's showing. It's not focusing. It's a man living in a box. Even on the drive to the gallery here, there's so many people who are living like this. And I just think it's important to put yourself in that situation in your mind and to understand. Yeah. Thanks, Julia. Glad you like those. Any other questions? I think that this piece is best viewed by just sort of standing still and staring. When I was making this, I hung it up under my porch, and me and my girls laid down on the ground and just sort of looked up and watched them fly over. And it's probably the calmest that I've seen them in many months. The side of the materials. So for this one, it's all aluminum. And it's just sort of reflecting that material. But ultimately, I had to use aluminum because of the weight and the distance that I was trying to stretch. I made another one of these that was 5 arms and much bigger at the Facebook Artist in Residency and Artist in Residence. And behind it was a gigantic mural of Bob Ross clouds. But the aluminum material, just to stretch that distance, that's just kind of what I had to use. But it works conceptually because aluminum is the material of planes, and it sort of allows for all this. It's part of what allows for this sort of system. I see Fred asked a question: are airplanes made from models? Yeah, they're toys. So they're small Matchbox toys, and those, when I think about those, I think about playing with it and like sticking it out the car window and sort of watching it fly, and that sort of connection to a smaller model, I think is part of what gives you that sort of personal journey there. It's the same as when I look at planes. Like when I look at a plane, because it's so small and I'm trying to like take it in and I can sort of hold it, at least in my mind, it pulls me up there, So then when I come back down, I have this moment of like having flown at 30,000 feet. And that's to me like what a toy plane is or has been. Let's see. Thought I saw another question. Where did I find, the rocks for the rock chairs. I'm not sure if I should say this. I stole these rocks. I went to a place where there's a lot of rocks. No one's gonna miss these rocks. I didn't take these rocks from someone's front yard, but I think for legal reasons, I can't say where I got these rocks. But I went shopping for the rocks, and I basically measured the opening of each chair and got an estimate, and then went and sifted through hundreds of rocks to find ones that had a pretty flat surface, and came down to a point so that there would be quite a bit of rock floating underneath. Right. And each rock is sort of the same as the chair. There's this patina to it. There's marks and places where it's rubbed, and it matches the patina on the rock. Some of them have barnacles. Some of them have a little bit of algae. Each one is totally sittable. And when you have it, it's just, when you sit on it, you have this moment. Just like when you sit on a rock outside where you're connected to like the roots of everything. And, you know, I think humans, like having built our own dens for so long, like we just lose all that, you know? All right, yeah, don't, if anybody asks, or maybe I should just say it, I legitimately got these rocks for no illegal way. How do you own a rock anyway? I mean, a rock's out there in nature, like who owns that rock? Okay, any other questions? If you're here, if you make it down, you know, feel free to take some time in the gallery, check things out, be quiet in here for a bit, watch the planes go around. You can actually warm yourself by the fire. It's actually quite warm. Yeah. Thanks for stopping by, and you know, hopefully, if people are watching this video too, you can contact the gallery and come check it out for yourself in person. Masked, wearing a mask and sanitizing your hands. And don't come if you have a fever or any of the other things that might mean you have COVID. I hope everybody is staying safe and sane, and thanks for watching. Bye.